This program is brought to you by LegendaryStrength.com. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. It is recommended you talk to your qualified health professional before making any changes to your exercise plan, diet, or prescription medication use. Legendary Strength is not responsible for any claims made during this program.
Hey, it's Logan Christopher here from the Legendary Strength podcast. I took a week off the previous one, just had a lot of other things going on and wanted some time off with the family and all that for Christmas, but we're back going. This podcast going out on the 31st, so happy New Year's Eve to everyone. Happy New Year. Happy 2013 coming up. We survived the Mayan apocalypse and everything seems the same, but you can choose to make this year your best one ever. That's what I do every year, and actually, I do believe it comes true every single year. Around this time, people talk about their resolutions, and really, they're not resolving to do anything. They might think of doing one thing. I really use it as a time to spend a lot of time to review what I've done in the previous year, as well as plan out what I'm going to do in the next one. And by doing this, I've achieved a certain level of success in all different areas of my life because I do focus on all the different areas of your life because all the different areas are important. This being the case here, we're going to be talking primarily about training. If you do want some more information regarding the business, and actually, I talked more about the processes that I go through to do this. I did a podcast with my friend Tyler Bramlett that is over at fitnessmoney.com. That's the other podcast both of us have where we talk about growing a fitness related business, whether doing as a personal trainer or doing the online thing like I'm doing. So I highly encourage you to go listen to that one because really everything we talk about over there, like the steps of goal setting, the processes I go through that he went through, it's really important for all areas of life, but they also, of course, pertain to your training goals as well. So I would encourage you to go ahead and download, subscribe to that podcast as well to get the details on that. I don't want to go over the same exact information on this one, so I figured I'd take a slightly different slant on what we're covering today. And I actually want to go through my training goals. Uh, there's a couple reasons to do this. One important factor, one powerful factor that can be used when you're setting goals, and there is a caveat with this, so I will mention that as well. But one thing you can use is making a public commitment with your goals. If you say you're going to do something and you put yourself on the line, a lot of times, and you do it, live for a crowd of a whole bunch of people. So I'm going to tell you my goals that I have set that I plan to accomplish in 2013. When we come back a year from now in 2014, I'm going to have to say whether I've achieved these goals or not. By having this public commitment out here, that's going to put more pressure on me to make sure I actually go through with everything and achieve these goals no matter what. So that is the plan. That's why I'm doing it. Now, with some people, this really does depend on a number of factors. With some goals, it is best to keep them secret. Don't even tell anyone. In certain cases, it seems the act of telling people you're going to do something replaces the actual act of doing it. If you say you're going to do it, then that's where you spend all your thing and you're just talking big. That seems to be the case for some people in some instances. In other cases, you don't want to tell other people because they're going to say, oh, no, you can't do that. They're going to stop you. They're certainly not going to help you in achieving your goals. I don't think either of those two things are going to take place here, so I'm doing it in a public commitment type deal so that I'm more accountable for my goals, so I have a little bit more incentive in order to do this. I've done this in the past and had success with it. For instance, when I did that whole month of the being a raw vegan just for fun, I told people I was going to do it beforehand. I did it on the podcast back then, and then when I actually went through with it, it was no problem to eat that way for an entire month. So that's why I'm doing it. Let's dive in. I have a number of different goals, something like 15 or so that I want to talk about. Now, this may sound like a whole lot of goals, or it may sound like not that many. In the past, I used to have much larger list of goals. I've really narrowed it down, and on that note, it may sound like I still have quite a few, but a lot of these are related, and I want to be sure that I cover my whole body. So let's just dive into it and I'll discuss a bit as we go along. My number one goal for the year is a one arm chin up. This has been a big goal of mine for quite some time now. I was planning on achieving it in the past year, didn't quite get it. I do think it is within reason that I'll be able to achieve this goal by the end of the year. Right now, my current training, I have been training actively towards this goal for some time. I'm using a lat pull down machine, but doing it with a one arm hand grip. And with that, I'm able to work with different weights. So I've been varying, working with lighter weights, working with heavier weights, and just increasing what I can do. At this point, I'm able to pull, I forget the exact weights on there, but I think it's like 137 and a half pounds. Maybe I'm in the 150 range. So I don't have that far to go according to this. I don't believe this is going to carry over 100% to the exercise, but I think it is for a large part. You're still doing the thing. I'm not hooking my legs in while I'm doing this movement, which is one thing that would throw it off because you're anchored in place. While doing this, there's still some other work on actual body weight pull-ups, but this is something that I'm enjoying doing and I'm seeing progress within it, so I'm believing that it will carry over to doing the one arm chin up. And by doing this, I think within a year's time, I can achieve that goal. So with each of these goals, I also do have sub goals that I'm going to hit. I may address some of them, but might not talk about all of them. Another major goal I have is to achieve the straddle press handstand, as I've written about and talked about quite a bit recently on my site, legendarystrength.com. I am getting much closer than I've ever been to achieving this, just in my ability to do a negative on this movement or what I feel when I'm doing the movement. There's still a ways to go, but this is basically my number two goal, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time with this. And that brings up something else I want to address here. When you're working with some training goals, for many of them, you can only do so much work. For the one arm chin, for stuff like the deadlift I'll be talking about, you can only do so much work because you have to recover with those exercises and everything. With something like the straddle press handstand, while it's still muscular and you do need recovery from it, it's a lot more skill orientated. That means because it's so skill intensive, you can spend a lot more time working on it. You can work on it every single day in possibly the same way, but in a couple of different ways, because that is quite the multifaceted move. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can work on it regularly and consistently. You can work on it daily. And that means you're going to have to take a different approach with that because it's more skill based and something that's really more strength based. So that's just something that I'm certainly keeping in mind. So I'm actually committed to doing some daily practice toward the straddle press handstand, something I'm doing every day. Whereas with the one arm chin, I'm not practicing the technique on that every single day. I'm doing that actually twice a week specifically on that, although there's some other things like levers that I'm working on as well that may have some carryover with that just because they're working the same muscles. So the straddle press handstand is my second goal. These are actually after this in no particular order. A 605 pound deadlift. My previous best ever was 505 pounds, which was pretty good. I was really happy with that to break the 500-pound mark. That was over a 2.5 times body weight lift. 600 pounds would be, even if I increased, I'm kind of light at 180 right now, but even if I increased by 20 pounds, that'd still be a 3 times body weight deadlift. And in order to hit this goal, it will definitely help to increase my body weight. I think I was up at 190 or somewhere around there when I hit the 505. I think by working at this over a year's time, I can build back up to that point, because I certainly couldn't deadlift 505 pounds right now because I haven't been working on it that much. And then after that, I should be able to surpass it. The deadlift is a lift that I love to do. It's a really good one that I feel strong in and have a lot of fun with, so it's something I wish to pursue further, and I like it a whole lot more than squatting or deadlifting, so I'm just choosing to go much further with that. One thing that was a big change in my training over this past year, which may have actually led me away from hitting some of the goals I had wanted when I started the previous year, but I've had a lot of fun with it and want to continue with it, is I started rock climbing. So I have some goals related to that. If you're not familiar with rock climbing, they have ranking systems for how you do different climbing. When it comes to bouldering, they have it's for some reason I don't know the details of this, but it starts with a V, then it has a number. So there's V0, V1, V2, V3, V4, so up. I believe they go to like V15 or something, which is just ridiculous climbs. Each level is more difficulty in the climb. So far, I've been able to accomplish up to V3s in about 6 months of training. Over the next year, I would like to hit both a V4 and a V5. That's what I'm going for, and that's specifically with bouldering. With the other ones, like using a belay, they have some other ranking systems, but not going to work or talk about those so much. I just seem to enjoy bouldering because it's tough, although it's in a different way. I just seem to like it a little more. So those are my rock climbing goals, and there's a few other goals and sub goals along with that. Another goal of mine is to hit the front lever. This past year, I succeeded in hitting a complete legs together, legs straight back lever, and even holding that up to 15 seconds. It's not easy to hold for 15 seconds, but I did accomplish that and was very happy with that, because previously I think the best I had done was a little bit of a straddle back lever. So I accomplished that goal. Still have not accomplished the front lever, which is quite a bit of a harder move in my opinion. I am getting closer to it. I'm definitely closer now than when I started last year, that's for sure. I figure that I will be able to hit it and hold it for something at least like 5 seconds this year. I'm following a progressive system, just working at levels where I increase the leverage on my body. So right now I'm specifically working on what I call an advanced one leg tuck, or advanced one leg, I forget exactly the name for it, advanced one leg front lever. So with this, I held one leg out completely straight, and then the other leg isn't tucked really close to the body because I've held that for quite a long time, but it's halfway tucked, halfway untucked. So I keep the foot next to the knee of the other leg. So this makes it harder. Just by every inch you uncurl your legs increases the leverage and makes this a tougher move. So the front lever is a move I'm working on. I'm also working on the human flag. I've been able to hold that in a tuck position. Going to start working toward the straddle position, and then finally working the complete human flag position where both legs are out straight once again. I've found some interesting things with this. One is it really does take practice to learn the position, how to get your arm structured right through your shoulder and the pull and everything. So this is something that should be practiced quite often in the beginning. Once you get a really good position, then I think it's going to be more strength fatiguing once you're actually levering out in the position. It also highly depends on your hand placement and the bar you're using. For instance, parallel bars, I had a lot more success in those early than when I went to a normal vertical bar like you would a signpost or something. It becomes much harder to do. So there's a lot of technical ability in this, in far more than in most of the other moves, like doing a front lever. There's some skill in there, but you really just have to be ridiculously strong. So some other hand balancing goals include 5 freestanding handstand push-ups. I just recently hit 3, so this is a goal that I should be able to accomplish probably in the, I don't know, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, we'll see. It should be a pretty easy one for me. Along those lines, I also want to do a tiger bend. If you're not familiar with a tiger bend, it is when you go from a forearm stand where you're resting across the full length of your forearms and then press up into a handstand. Now, in order to do this move, it's not just a strict press where you're basically doing a tricep extension, but there is some body movement as you're doing this exercise. That being said, it still takes a whole lot of strength to be able to do it. It's not some easy move. It's not something that you can really just, if you have all the skill in the world, do. You still need a good amount of strength. And those freestanding handstand push-ups, that's something that really will help lead up to this movement, which is why I've been working on those. So I plan to get the Tiger Bend pretty soon. I'd say I could probably achieve that by the half year mark. I have a couple flexibility goals. I would like to be able to do the full pancake drill. This alone would help me big time towards the straddle press. And to be honest, I haven't been focusing too much on my flexibility lately, just let other things get in the way, but I'm starting to get really back into doing that regularly. Down the line further, because I don't think that one's too far off, but I'd like to be able to do the complete side splits. I've never gotten really close. I can do close to the front splits at any time. If I really work on it, I can get down to pretty much the bottom of them, but the side splits have not been something I've been close to, so that will take quite a bit more work to get it, and if I do the work, I know I can achieve that. So I already mentioned the 605-pound deadlift. Another goal I have, which I had the previous year, but I actually just never worked on it, is a 1,000-pound support in the wrestler's bridge. If you've seen, there is a video on YouTube that I have. It's over 600 pounds where I support in this position. That is supporting a barbell overhead, then having someone sit on my legs. In this case, it was Bud Jeffries also holding additional weight. And in total, it was over 600 pounds. I'd like to do half a ton in this position. I think if I consistently worked on it, I'd be able to do it. The one hard part is I need to have a good setup and people that weigh enough weight, and probably for that I would need multiple people in order to do this lift. But I can be training for it regularly, and then when I have the opportunity to do that, then I can go forward with it. So that is something I would like to hit as well. Something else that I haven't been doing lately, but at some point this year, not right now because of I'm focusing so much more on the other stuff, and including also the kettlebell juggling, just finishing putting together everything in that course. But once that's wrapped up and I want to start to shift my goals a little bit, I'd like to get back into the kettlebell snatch. Now, at this point, just because of the controversy and everything, I don't really want to work with the 24 kilogram kettlebell so much, trying to go faster and faster with that. I have two goals here. I would like to do with a 32 kilogram kettlebell 200 snatches with multiple hand switches in 10 minutes. That is very difficult to do. The whole Secret Service snatch test that's usually done with the 24 kilogram, and the goal is to hit 200. So if you can do that with a 32 kilogram, that's doing something pretty amazing. I'd also like to go the GS route with this. Just with the snatch, I do not wish to pursue the kettlebell jerk with two kettlebells just because it is uncomfortable for me, and really in order to become good at it, I'd have to deform my body. I'd have to basically permanently curve my upper spine in order to get a good rack position to be able to go with it. At some point in the future, maybe that'll change, but I just want to pursue the snatch and actually work up to a Master of Sport ranking level. Many years ago, maybe was that 4 or 5 years ago, I'd say, when I had just learned the GS style of the kettlebell snatch and all their movements. After going through the AKC, I was focused on it for a while, and I worked up to a best of 150 total snatches with the 24 kilogram kettlebell in 10 minutes. And this is with one hand switch. That would get me to a rank 1 of how they rank in there according to the AKC. So to get the Master of Sport, I just looked at my numbers at my current weight. I would need to do 65 reps in each hand total with the 32 kilogram kettlebell. So that's going to take some dedicated work to do. I just know right now with all the other things I'm focusing in on, besides a little bit of work without going too heavy or too often, which I might do a little bit, but I can't be focused on that one. So that's something I'm going to put towards later in the year. So this makes up all my training goals. I'm also actually planning on resuming my martial arts training since moving away from Medford, Oregon. I basically just stopped, but I want to get back into it, so I'm going to be doing that as well. So that's going to have to be incorporated in all the other training time that I'm doing. So these are my goals for the year, and I'm now publicly committed to doing to them. Of course, as I achieve them, you'll see videos and all that stuff as we go along. Now what I want to bring up is something fun. As a public person on the internet doing what I do, I get hate mail sometimes, or hate comments. In this case, this one came from YouTube, and it actually relates to what we're doing here today, so I wanted to talk about it. This comment came on one of my videos. Why do you have a channel about hand balancing when you can't do anything beyond a handstand and a crappy Stalder press? And the truth is, I can't even do a Stalder press, so I'm not sure why he is talking about that. No one-arm handstand, not even a straddle planche. Some teacher you are. You teach skills you can't even do. Well, the truth is, I don't really teach the skills that I can't do. I teach stuff I can do, like how to get into a handstand. Most people can't do that, so I feel fine teaching it, and I've republished older works and bring stuff in from other people. Occasionally I comment on this is how I would approach going toward this skill, but I don't really teach so much things that I can't do. Anyway, back to the comment. And you've been doing it for 4 years now. What's your excuse for not doing harder skills? All you do is some weird kettlebell shit no one even cares about. Pathetic. So this is quite a fun comment, but he does have something of a point. I have been doing hand balancing to some degree for 4 years now, give or take a year, something like that. So why am I not better than I actually am? And the truth is because during that time, I truthfully have not practiced hand balancing all that much. If you look at anyone who's really good at hand balancing, look at how much they practice. One guy that proves this point is Ido Portal. If you have not heard of him, I would highly recommend you go check him out. Look at his videos online. This guy is a master of movement. And to spell that, it's IDO, second word, Portal. But Ido Portal here, he trains something like 4, 5, 6 hours a day on these skills. How much do I spend per day on hand balancing? 10 minutes. For a large periods of time, like I'm not even working on it. I'm doing that weird kettlebell shit that no one cares about apparently, except all the people that say, hey, your kettlebell juggling's amazing. So I don't spend all that much time on it. Still, I would say, yeah, had I worked more, or at this point, I should be better at the skills that I'm working on. So I am spending more time with my hand balancing, and guess what? I'm seeing more improvement by doing so. I mean, in that 4 years, there was even times when I couldn't even do a handstand because of my wrist injury. So there are things that held me back. After learning everything I've learned, I've been able to get rid of those things. But you could say these are excuses. So why aren't I doing harder skills? Well, I'm devoting myself to more hand balancing practice, so I'm going to start improving. And really, the truth is, most people can't even do the few hand balancing things I can. So there's nothing wrong with me teaching those people how to do a basic handstand because, most people don't want to get to a one-arm handstand. They can't fathom really the difficulty, the skill, and amount of practice it takes to get there. I'd like to get that skill at some point, and if I dedicate myself, I know I can truly do it. It will take a lot of time. But because hand balancing is just one small part of all the things I want to do, and really I'd say it's not even primary compared to my strength goals, it's not something that I spend a lot of time. Also, I'd say my physical training as a whole, you might not believe this, but it's not like my number one priority in life right now. In fact, I'd say a number of other things are bigger in priority. I'm always going to do it, and I'm always going to have it as a fairly good priority. When I train, but it's really not the number one thing I want to do. It's kind of funny, my business, I am working so hard so that in the future, when the business is bigger and more automatic and everything, I can take more time to train, but the truth is I could just spend a little time less right now in building it in order to have more time to train. So I go a little back and forth on these things. But as you can see through my list of training goals, I have quite a bit I want to accomplish. Just to go over those again: a one-arm chin-up, a straddle press handstand, climb a V4 and V5 in bouldering, do a front lever, a human flag, 5 freestanding handstand push-ups, a tiger band, get the pancake drill to where my chest is flat on the floor, the complete side splits, a 605-pound deadlift, 1,000-pound support in the wrestler's bridge, 65 snatches per side with the 32-kilogram kettlebell with one hand switch, and a total of 210 minutes with multiple hand switches, once again with the 32-kilogram kettlebell. Those are my goals right now. The truth is I'm likely to get more goals I'd like to accomplish in the year just at some point during the year. That always happens. But right now, where I'm at this moment, these are things I like to hit. And an important thing is I'm working towards, at this time, 9 out of the 12 that are in here. So that's an important thing. If what I used to do in the past, I would have huge lists of goals and I'd actually only be working toward a couple of them at any given time. So by having these goals, public commitment, I'm going to hit them. This is the year I'm going to do really good with my training. I promise you that. So this is what I'd like you to do if you'd like to join in with the fun. Go to legendarystrength.com, go to the blog where you'll find this podcast, the specific post on this podcast. I believe this is episode 11 right now. Go into the comments section there and write down your top 3 training goals. Whatever your top 3 training goals, you can make a public commitment to, and I will hold you to these goals. We'll actually do a review, maybe like halfway through the year. How are you doing toward these goals? And I'll do it in a podcast or something like that and just call you up on them. And then, of course, in a year's time and see how you did on your training goals. I think by doing that, by getting the public commitment out there, you can have some fun with it, and it can also help to propel you forward on your goals. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you are getting ready to make 2013 your best year ever. That's what I plan to do, and I hope to share with you a number of things over this year that will make sure that that does happen for you. Thank you.